this photo some kind of an artistic push. Select these elements with Photoshop one by one, because I would like to somehow separate them from the yeah, this one too. I want this one too, because this way I don't have to, with this new Photoshop version, I don't have to select it by hand. Photoshop can select the elements for me. I don't know if you knew that the new object selection stuff is cool. Right? You don't have to select it by hand. I just create these rectangle selections, and it will add them to my selection. Okay. Let's mask. Let's click the mask button like that, and clean up the mask a little bit. Let's create an eraser, which is this one. Make it hardness 100%, size. I can control the size by pressing the Alt and the right mouse button. Okay, so I can. If you need a perfect selection, then use the pen tool. That's the best. You click one, then you click once again, and then if you arrive to a curved area, you press down the mouse button like so. Make new selection, enter and delete. No, sorry, I have to invert the selection. Select inverse and now delete, and it's finally okay. Press the M, the selection, and click, or Control, or I can press Control D because that's delete selection. I will delete this one as well. If you click one and press Shift and click again, it will create a line, a perfectly straight line. Let's say click, click, and I just created a perfectly straight line. Cool. I come here. Let's use the pen tool now. I click here. Pen tool is the best to sorry about that. Shift, with Shift or Alt, I don't know, Control, I can move it with Control. Yeah, and then make selection. Okay, and I again invert the selection with Control, Shift, and I, and press delete, and it's good. And there's a little issue here as well. So these are my main elements. Okay. Let's press Control J, which will create a copy of that, and let's save this Photoshop file. And let's call it Celio Alves Edit. Edit. Press Enter button. And let's delete the mask and put it under it. And now if I make any adjustments, here I can find the adjustments layer this button, this yin yang button, yin yang style button. And let's say if I do a dark tone, dark image, and I select the multiply, oh, there is a selection problem there. Let's adjust it. I click here on the selection, and with the white brush tool, because you have to select the white to have your selection, I will, with opacity 100, flow 100, and completely white brush. Yeah, good. I added this selection because that part is missing from the image, and we need that. If I made a mistake, no problem, I press the X and I press the black. If you have completely other colors, you just press the D button, and then it will bring back the default colors for you. Okay, and then I delete these elements from here too. Cool. And now, oh no, I need that one too. Yeah. And now, let's say I make the whole image black and white. Okay, like Control Alt Shift E, like that, and let's go to the camera raw filter. And I go to my filters. I would like to make it darkish. Make it completely dark first. How I make it dark, it's easy. I come to the edit mode, I dial down the exposure, like so, and the vibrance, dial down the vibrance. Not the saturation, because the saturation dial down every color in the image, as you can see. And now we can use the color mixer, because, like, for example, we can grab the greens and I make the greens dark and the yellows as well. I just have to, you see? And then I go to the saturation slider and I make them completely black. Orange, reds, aquas, blues, magentas. You can select separate colors. So for example, if I decrease the highlights, which are the high tones of the image, the shadows are the whites. I want to make a flat image. I don't want to crush the black, so I don't want areas like that. And now if I can play with the texture slider, clarity slider, and this is the dehaze slider. It gives a strong contrast to the image. Okay. And now, for example, I go to the luminance, which controls the lightness of the specific colors, and I just grab my yellow tones and the green tones and I make them darker. I grab these tones and I grab these tones and make them darker. Okay, and then yeah, this is not exactly what I want, but it's important because I can separate the image by color, and I can make good contrast, and I can make the image to focus, to set the focus to the objects. It's really important. Okay, what's the other thing I can set? I can set the focus to these elements. Well, the adjustments. Like for example, I grab my linear gradient, or first let's dial up these oranges and reds. Let's go for the exposure and dial down the exposure, okay? And let's go to the local adjustments. Let's go to the radial gradient and select these like that. And now increase the exposure only in this area. And let's make it very, very smooth. So not as a circle, but very smooth. Okay. And this way, I create a brand new radial gradient, and I increase the exposure on these elements as well. You will see why I selected these. We can play with it. It's really, really effective tool. To manipulate our photos. Okay, so This was the before, this is the after. And let's create another one here. Increase the exposure. Let's see what the light painting we did. Good. Good. Okay. And now try to add some filter to the image. Let's go to the camera raw filter again. By the way, if I click to these objects or I put them in the image, we can see we have this selection. So I press the control and click on the mask. So I have them. And if I bring in a brightness or a contrast layer, I can give them more contrast, even more contrast. You see? That's why it was important to select them. Or I can invert the mask with the Control I, and I can adjust the whole image, the whole inverted image. You see? So this way, I make some artistic black and white photography. And to merge the whole image, I press Ctrl-Alt-Shift-E, so it's a monster shortcut, and I go back again to the camera raw filter. And now I go to my presets, I go to the selenium tone or sepia tone, split tone. Let's go to the black and white stuff. It looks quite good, by the way. It's good, but good as well. Too contrasty. Too contrasty. Yeah, this looks good. It's, excuse me.
Sorry, I was just laughing because I really liked it.
It's like, I don't know, it brings out the structure really, really well. And if it's too strong, we can adjust, because it's definitely too strong. We can adjust the, this is the before, this is the after. Let's press OK. And there we have it. If I want to give some color to it, I usually use the gradient map, or I just use some lookup tables. Like, for example, let's say these, I don't know, crisp warm look or crisp winter drop blues. These drop blue stuffs are fine because it's elevate the black colors. Tangent green, teal orange. This is a bit, I know it's unnatural. Soft warming look, night from day. Let's see what else we have here. 4 colors, or I can use a gradient map. Gradient map is cool because you can set colors and you set it to soft light or color mode, and it will colorize your image. I set it to opacity 30, perceptual to classic, and the point is the darks will be blue or violet, and the lights will be orange, or the lights will be white if you want, or they can be any color you like. It's a dual toning, split tone, dual tone image. It can be red as well, or any color you would like to. Don't use red because that's disgusting. Yeah, I like this one. I kind of like this really soft, smooth thing here. But let's just leave it. Let's just leave it like that. And another thing why these selections are good, because if I create a gradient, I just select this mask like that, create a new layer, and I gradients, set it to gradient, and I click the mask button. So I get this mask as well. And I select the gradient tool with the G, and I go to the black and white layer. Okay? And I press, and you can see it's not good, so I press the D button, so I go from black and white. So I do this, I get this image. If I do this, I get this image. So if I go to the from the painting color to transparent, then I can make gradients like that. You see? Really, really cool stuff. So I make gradients from the ground, and I set it to, let's say, multiply mode or overlay. You can try to play with these normal, multiplied, no change, soft light. Yeah, let's go with the normal now, and let's do another gradient from top to the bottom. Yeah, and there we have it. I consider it ready. This is our edit. Now we can save it to the PSD.